Margin and padding are two properties in CSS that you will find yourself using all the time. Now it's very important to distinguish the difference between a margin and a padding. Now they're very similar, but at the same time they're very different. Both give us spacing in an element, but the difference is where the spacing is. Now margin is the spacing around the element, so it's the outside spacing, and your padding is a spacing inside the element, which is the inside spacing. If you want to use a metaphor, the margin would be the padding around you, so it would be your hockey or football pads, and your padding is inside of you, like your muscle structure. That would be the padding that is inside of you. The bigger your muscles, the bigger you are going to be. Or the bigger your pads are, the more room you're still going to take up. See how they're similar but they're different? Now to add a margin, we just use the margin property. Now we can use an exact measurement, pixels, centimeters, etc. Or we can use a percent. Looking at this example here, we have our div.margin, which means our margin class will only work on div elements. Our margin is 10 pixels, and we just added a 1 pixel solid red border around it, and that displays this red box here. As we see, it looks like a regular border, but there is in fact an invisible 10 pixel wide border all the way around the red border. And this can be very hard to visualize, so here's a visual example. What we have, it was our red one, which is the inside part, and then we added a 10 pixel margin, which means the margin, remember, is the outside part, and the blue border is actually where the margin is. So between the blue and red is your margin. Now if we want to specify certain sides, we use the margin property like we do with the border. We use margin left, margin top, margin right, and margin bottom. We can also shorthand write this. We'll get to that at the end of this class though. I would like to point out one thing here. Instead of using 0 pixels, instead of using a 0 measurement, we just wrote 0. And that's because 0 is 0. It means there is nothing there. It is the same in every sort of measurement. 0 inches is the exact same as 0 centimeters, which is the exact same as 0 pixels. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there, and there's no need for a measurement. You can, however, if you feel like you should, you can keep your measurement with it. It really doesn't make a difference. Now let's go over padding. Padding, like margin, uses the same code style as borders and margins, and here's a full example in our CSS. So P, padding. P, remember, is our paragraph element, so this class, padding, is only going to affect the P element that we specify. So if we wrote padding 10 pixels, this will apply 10 pixel padding all the way around it equally, so it will have top, right, bottom, and left as 10 pixel padding. Padding 10 pixels, like this, is the exact same as writing it the long way, like this. Now that's not shorthand, that's just another way of writing it. Now to clarify the difference between margin and padding, we'll take another look at our blue and red example. So if blue was our element, and we had a 10 pixel padding, which means that we shrink everything inside of it by 10 pixels, then red is our new content area. Again, think of padding as football pads or rugby pads or hockey pads, some sort of sporting pad, where it actually makes you a little bit bigger, so you take up more room, but the content inside doesn't change. Now we're going to quickly go over shorthand. We use a shorthand method for both margin and padding like we do with borders. So with shorthand padding, if we select all of our div elements, and we give it a padding of 0, 10, 0, 10, what we're doing is we're giving top 0, right 10, bottom 0, left 10. Remember, it goes top, right, bottom, left, and the same thing with margin. So here we just use the paragraph selector. We use margin as our property. So top is 5 pixels, right is 1 pixel, bottom is 5 pixels, left is 1 pixel. This is the exact same as margin is equal to 5 pixels, 1 pixel. See what I'm flickering back here? That is actually the exact same notation.